Tobias Harris telling us all to be quiet on a Friday night with some hoops in South Philadelphia as he comes out blazing hot to start this game off as they take on the Toronto Raptors, defeating them by 10, 121-111. What a game, taking a 2-1 three-game homestand as the Sixers improve as they get ready for their game on Christmas Day against the Miami Heat. But this is all about, yes, 3 Sixers scored in 30 points tonight, but it was all about Tobias Harris, Derek Bodner. I'm Devon Givens. Kyle Neubeck will join us live from South Philly to get into all this. Bree is here producing. We want to hear from you all on the Super Chat. Derek, he said, shut up.
Tell a friend to tell a friend, because that was freaking wild.
Yeah.
Look, we spent a couple of shows debating whether or not he had opportunity to shine. That dude was hitting like step back threes early in the shot clock tonight. Don't tell me he didn't have opportunities to shoot other games. Don't tell me he didn't have opportunities to make an imprint on the game. He was sensational in that first half. And look, Embiid came out in this one and started off slow.
Yep.
I think he had maybe like 11 at halftime. Mm-hmm. Wasn't really dominating the way. And usually he comes out and he has 11 in the first quarter almost every game. So he was really struggling. Maxey had some moments, but he wasn't yet dominant. He would become dominant. That would come later in the game. But the Sixers came out slow. And they were struggling. And what were they down? Like 11, I think, at the end of the first quarter. The only reason they were in that game is because they got a big performance from Tobias Harris. Making catch-and-shoot threes, step-back threes, driving some passes. That pass he made when he was coming off a pick and roll and he hit Oubre cutting was maybe, I thought, the play of the game for Tobias. It was wild to see him do that. And the difference between a confident Toby and a second-guessing Toby is just so drastic. He made a step back. I still can't get over the fact he made even.
And it was
I can't get over the fact that he attempted a step back three for him to then come out, and I know he's going to do it in a week later, where he's going to come out and pump fake and jab step and record scratch a three.
Yep.
And this is why it's so infuriating, because he's capable of doing this. He's capable of being that third star. He's capable of lifting you on a night when Joel Embiid's out. He just very, very rarely does it.
They were down by as much as 15 in the first quarter. And Tobias Harris was the only one that really had anything going, only one who really had a pulse. So, Derek, as you talked, first of all, this is what we ask for. So when we went on our rants on Thursday's show, it was because of this.
Right.
We even said it towards the end of the show. You know what's going to happen. He's going to get into January, and he's going to go for about 2 weeks where he's averaging 20 points, shooting 50% from the three-point line, playing phenomenal defense, playing very well, and then he's going to drive everybody nuts when he then goes and falls back a little bit. But this is all we ask. Not 24 points in the first quarter. It's, let me say this again. I said it on Twitter. I'll say it here right now because I know many people knew about it when I said it all those years ago about Ben Simmons. And it now rings true for Tobias Harris. Aggressive Tobias Harris is the best Tobias Harris. It doesn't necessarily, again, has to come in the form of 24 points. However, when he's aggressively looking for his, and when I said on Thursday's show to demand the basketball, to reject certain things from the other two when they don't have it, we got some pushback on that even after the show where some were saying, that's ridiculous. Why would you want less shots from Embiid and Maxey and give them to Tobias Harris? This is the reason, because he can make good decisions. He may not make all of them like he did tonight. He shot, I believe, 13 for 24. I could be wrong on that number off the top of my head, but he was phenomenal, right? Hitting step-back threes, as Derek talked about. But this is exactly what we're asking. Aggressive Tobias Harris, and that's the best Tobias Harris. And you saw that. And as Derek points out, the best, two of the phenomenal plays that he had, a step-back three and a pass to Kelly Oubre cutting in the paint for a dunk. I'll give you one even better. For me, small, subtle thing. Joel Embiid blocked Jakob Poeltl with just under a minute to play in the third quarter. Tobias Harris grabs the loose ball. Tyrese Maxey is right to his left. As far as Derek is from me here, if you're watching, if you're on the podcast, he is a couple of, no, he's right arm's length from me where I can just hand the ball off to Derek and let him push the break. Tobias Harris looked Tyrese Maxey off.
No.
Pushed the break. Embiid got down the floor, sealed, threw him the ball. He got fouled, 2 free throws. A second one where he also got a rebound on the right side of the floor. Joel Embiid leaked out, sealed his man. Tobias with his second best pass of the night over the top of the defender into Embiid's hands for a bucket there it was about 75 feet away from the basket, and he threw it over the top into the paint to Embiid's hand. And that's all we're asking for. Not 33 tonight, tremendous work. 8 and 7 assists to go along with it. Shot the ball tremendously well. All we're asking for is for him to be aggressive, have a pulse in the game, and give them another option offensively on the floor. They trusted him on the floor. They gave him the ball. Even when he gave the ball to them, they gave it back and allowed him to reset because he had the hot hand. And as we mentioned on Thursday, if you pass it away and you look like you don't know what you want to do with the basketball after being stopped the first time, no, they're not going to give it back to you. They're not. But he was confident. He was looking for his. He was looking for them. And it was all worked out, and it came in a great package tonight in this 10-point win over the Toronto Raptors. A phenomenal game, his best game of the season, dropping the season high 33.
And look, I don't want him shooting. I'm not expecting him, nor do I want him shooting 23 times every night. I certainly don't expect him to shoot 9 threes every night. I don't expect step-back threes regular at all. Occasionally, yes, when you need it, like tonight, you need it in the first half. But game to game, just take the open shots. That's all. If you can shoot 9 threes in this game against a team that has good length on the perimeter, you can make step-back threes, you can shoot a freaking open catch-and-shoot three. That's all. I feel like I'm setting the bar very, very, very low. And today shows exactly why. I don't get frustrated by people who can't do something.
Yes.
That's fine. If that's the case and you're being put in a bad position, that comes down to the coach. I get upset by people who do not make the most of their gifts. And Tobias Harris is, like I said the last show, he's worked so hard to become a good, competent catch-and-shoot player, a guy who can really shoot in all facets. Just use it. That's all I want. That's legitimately all I want.
That's it. That's it. And we want to hear from you, of course, in the chat. We'll get to some of your chats here as we go throughout the evening. Just a few numbers as we go along again. Both Maxey and Harris paced the Sixers with 33 apiece. To Joel Embiid with 31. Derek talked about it. He slow scoring first half, but he got himself together. Even with he rolled his ankle. It looked like it was going to be a tough one. Some were even asking why would Nick Nurse even bring him back? But he came in. And he went off in the third quarter. Derek, what did you say, 16 in the third? 16 straight?
16 straight for the Sixers.
In the third quarter. And he was just fantastic. And so you look at that and you look at 96 points, 97 points, sorry, with between the three of those guys tonight where you were down 2 starters. And again, down 2 starters and you need somebody to step up. Tobias Harris did just that. You got good play and good minutes from some of the role players, the guys starting, Marcus Morris, Kelly Oubre off with his shooting, same for Morris, but I thought they gave good minutes. Daniel House coming in, same thing, giving good minutes. Furkan Korkmaz, a short run, but a good showing there while out on the floor. The same for Paul Reed outside of his three-pointer from the top of the key that was nowhere near close to being made, but he's taking those shots. So a good overall game, getting off to the slow start, and defensively too, for this basketball team where so many things were easy for them. Turnovers early on, points off of turnovers for the Toronto Raptors, points in the paint for Jakob Poeltl just with his little push shot over Joel Embiid, setting up very well. The Sixers defense buckled down as the game started to progress. They really showed their defense and slowed things down. 31 for Siakam, but no one else really a threat outside of Siakam.
No, the first 6 minutes of this game had a chance to be really, really frustrating. Like you mentioned, there were a lot of turnover problems, and the Sixers compounded that by not getting back in transition. There was miscommunications in the half court. Embiid would step up to challenge a shot. Nobody would rotate behind him. There was just a whole lot of things going wrong, and then you add in the fact that Embiid wasn't his normal dominant self on offense. This had a chance to get away from him, which happens over the course of an 82-game season. You're going to have nights like this. But they turned it around. And like I said, Tobias keeping them close was huge. Obviously, Embiid then had that stretch in the third. Maxey had that stretch in the fourth. Some really, really tough, deep contested threes. Getting those kinds of performances from your key guys, we call them all the time, your tentpole guys, plus Tobias Harris, was great to see. And I could sit here and nitpick certain things about most people's games, especially a lot of the role players. I thought it was a very up and down game, even from people like Kelly, even from people like Marcus, who you mentioned. But I just thought there was enough from your role players that when you have a huge night like this, you're going to be able to win. And Tobias I'm just going to focus on Tobias because that is the thing that was different. Like, we are used to seeing Embiid dominate. We are used to seeing Tyrese Maxey put on a 3-point shooting clinic. Tobias Harris, to be aggressive like he was when they needed him to be aggressive, it's just if he would just, and again, he's not going to shoot 23 times all that often. Just need him to be aggressive when you need it, not when he's, he'll only be aggressive when he's feeling it, but you need that to be his consistent mindset. It's never been the case. I don't expect it to be the case going forward, but it was fantastic to see. It was legitimately, there were 5 or 6 plays that's a great play.
Yep.
It's not even just like Tobias. Like early in the season, I felt like Tobias was doing a lot of, I'm going to attack in semi-transition or early offense, attack mismatches. No, these were like legitimately great plays that Tobias is capable of doing every now and then. It's just very frustrating.
I know.
It's very frustrating.
That's why you're just simply trying to praise him for his job well done tonight. Real Time says on the chat, Derek, trade Tobias tonight. His stock is really high. And Sicario Game, he says, yes, trade Tobias tomorrow. Yeah, I guess give him the night, trade him tomorrow with the day off and all that. But no, I mean, look, and the frustration is, and that's why you ended your comment the way that you did, because you're like, it's very simple basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Just be aggressive all the time. It's not that you have to take 23 shots. It's just the mentality, how you're trying to do it, and what you're doing, putting that pressure on the defense, and also makes things easier for your teammates to get things going. Because even though Morris and Oubre were missing their shots, they were getting good looks. They just missed them. Because what happens? If you shade off of Tobias after he's doing what he's doing, after the defense is starting to play him a little bit tighter, the other two are going to get going at some point. Those two are going to get some looks too, and they just missed them. But they did other small things to help out as they could throughout the evening, helping lead to this victory. And we've talked as much as we have in coming after Harris the way that we have so much here on this show, and we can only talk about us. That's why we're praising him the way that we are tonight. Sure, we can get on him and say stock is high, trade him like Real Time, and like Sicario is saying. But no, it's just really about what he did tonight and the job that he did this evening, because not only when he's scoring in that way on the offensive end, he's focused on defense where he gives the effort that he does anyway, as Derek talked about on Thursday's show. But when you're locked in and scoring like this, your game is stepping up in a lot of different ways too. The passing, as Derek mentioned, on the defensive end, you're locked in. So every aspect of your game, it seems like it's so easy out there. And even when he was taking those quick 3-pointers, he was open and he was feeling it. So you're like, okay, shoot it again.
Yep.
And that's exactly what you and Kyle talk about, those high volume shots from 3-point range, especially when he has a good look and he's feeling it.
Yeah, look, I'm guessing something just happened with the Flyers game, because we heard some people yelling in the background. This NBA defenders react so quickly, and they cover ground so well. You don't have a half a second to think, what should I do? Should I take this shot? I've gone 2 for 8. Am I comfortable going 2 for 9 if I miss? You just don't have the time to second guess yourself and still get off a decent look. And it's just, again, I go back to the step back, not because, oh my God, he made a step back, but oh my God, he did something without thinking, and look at the results.
He just reacted.
It's just completely different. And I wish somebody, and look, it's now been Brett Brown, Doc Rivers, and Nick Nurse. Nobody's really found a way to do that consistently. I think the only time he was really consistent in terms of aggressiveness was when he was with the Clippers, and he was pretty much a primary perimeter initiator, at least for much of the game, in pick and rolls. That's really where his bread and butter is. He's not good enough at that, certainly not good enough as a creator to run your offense like that. So he's had to sort of become an off-ball sort of role player, catch and shoot guy, attack closeout guy, and that's where the indecision comes in. And you've had a number of coaches now try to get this version out of him more often. It hasn't happened, but this, again, I'll just go back to, it's great. They needed to get the win, but this is also why he frustrates us so much.
Very, very much so. Very much so. Jay of the Jungle back in with us on the Super Chat. We appreciate it, Jay, hanging out with us like everyone else on a Friday night with the donation. Thank you. They historically lose this game. Joel and Maxey start slow, and they never get all the way back. Harris kept them in it until the Stars got it going. Jay, appreciate it. It was something that we talk about Vince, our coworker here, a lot. Vince texted me, asked me how I thought in the first half, how things were looking. And I said, you know what? Tobias is playing this well. He's being aggressive. They will get it together in the second half. What they did, though, they got it together towards the end of the second quarter, took the lead. And as Vince mentioned, it was really good to see them tie the score and then take that lead And going into the third quarter, they really turned it up. Toronto got back into it, and they turned it up once again, even when the reserves were in there in the fourth quarter, largely due to Tyrese Maxey's, I believe, 16 in the fourth quarter, where he really went off and hitting those threes early on and doing what Maxey typically does. And that's why they were able to get it. The defense is too strong. They figured things out. They made their adjustments in the second quarter and definitely at halftime. And then they were just too much down the stretch as they closed things out for their 20th win of the campaign. So really, really good win, a fun win. And we've talked about this.
But a number of fun wins
Yeah,
in a row.
number of fun. And that's why I was about to go. We said take 2 of the 3. And you got the 2 in a row where you beat Minnesota, which was the big one. And then you followed it up, not only not letting down, but letting down early, but making your adjustment to correct your mistakes, fix the problem, and still come away with a double-digit victory.
Yeah. And look, we mentioned it the other day. If you were going to take 2 out of 3, if that was your expectation, I'd rather that one win come against the Wolves rather than the Bulls, just because it's a more impressive win. And also, just every game, they found a way to take someone who is struggling or the team struggling as a whole and bounce back in the second half. And Tyrese, obviously, I think we all kind of expect Embiid to bounce back at various points, even when he was hobbling so much. I mean, then again, with the way he was hobbling, to come out and score 16 in a row in a third, that was really impressive. But Tyrese, I feel like every time he does something great, we're sort of like making a little note of it because it is his first time in this role. He's had a very consistent stretch where he has taken over games in the fourth quarter, even when he's struggling earlier on in the game. That's a great sign. Yeah,
and 5 turnovers in the first quarter, as we mentioned. 5 in the first quarter, 9 the rest of the way for the team. So really good protection of the basketball after getting off to a tough start there where they were very careless with the ball. Embiid, mostly where he had 4 turnovers in the first quarter. Really, really careless with the basketball. They cleaned it up, though, thereafter, walking away with the 10-point victory. When we come back, we'll get into Tyrese Maxey a little bit, talk about that, talk about Joel Embiid a little bit as we get into a little bit of making sure that your health is right, especially on these late nights.
For sure. I want to tell you about AG1, the daily foundational nutritional supplement that supports whole body health. As I mentioned in the past, I tend to be very rushed in the morning. I wake up late, I'm slow to get going, and that tends to cause my diet to suffer when I'm running out the door. Breakfast is easily my least nutritious meal of the day, so I've added AG1 to my morning routine so I make sure I get the macronutrients I need to kick my day off right and make me feel like I have everything I need to cover my nutritional basis and win the day. We're around athletes a lot, and athletes tend to have one thing in common. They take care of their bodies. More AG1, less crumble cookies. And a huge part of that starts with optimizing whole body health. A lot of them also drink AG1, which is why I'm a huge fan. With every daily serving, I'm setting myself up for success with 75 high-quality ingredients that give me key daily nutrients and support energy, focus, strength, and clarity. It's a micro-habit that delivers macro benefits and helps just about everybody take great care of their health every day. If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/PHLY Sixers. That's drinkag1.com/PHLY Sixers. Check it out.
It's also good for when you're running around last minute on the holidays trying to get these gifts. Take your AG1. If you forget to eat, make sure you have your AG1. You're all good.
We're not going to talk about that, Devon. That's a sore subject.
And if you're doing that, and like Derek has to take the AG1 from running around, if you're doing that and you're saying, you know what, now I have this boost of energy and I want to make sure I get these gifts and get out the way, whether I have a very easy way for you online on your app, with our good friends from Game Time. If you want to buy Philadelphia hosting New York on Christmas Day here in Philadelphia, I have the place for you again, Game Time. Buying tickets to your favorite events, it shouldn't be stressful at all. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all sports, music, comedy, and theater with killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee. You can stop stressing over tickets and start getting hyped for all the fun that you'll have, especially, again, when you want that last-minute gift for your loved one. Buying tickets to your favorite events should not be stressful at all. You get those flash deals, last-minute tickets, easy to find, and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area, including images of seat views, lowest price guaranteed, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, etc. It's the fastest growing ticketing app in the country for a reason. Get images, once again, of your seat before you buy so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive to your destination. Buying tickets in a matter of seconds, just 2 taps, and you're all set. Tickets are sent directly to your phone, so you never have to dig through that email. If you can't get the Wi-Fi in the place that you are, bang, right there on your app. No problem. Tickets make for great holidays, as we've shared with you already. Snag those tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code PHLY for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
Did we have a super chat or did we get to all of them?
We had the one.
Did we get? That was the only one. Okay.
Yeah, we had the one already. As talking about this and Tobias Harris answering the critics with his big play today, but he wasn't the only one because you did get everyone else to step in. Everybody had their quarter.
Let's be honest. None of us have any idea what to expect from Tobias on Monday.
I'm not even
Nobody
looking
has
at Monday.
confidence that it'll necessarily carry over. He could be great again. He could disappear. That's part of the problem. You just don't know what to expect out of him from a mentality perspective and any given night. And also, there's a little chatter here in the chat. I just want to be clear. You can't trade him now at his highest value because nobody in the league is going to fall for that. Nobody in the league cares about one game on a player who's 31. It's just not how it works. There is no change in Tobias Harris's trade value based on this performance.
Yeah. So that's not happening. They're still going to hold on to him for as long as they hold on to him. We'll see where things end up. Maybe by February, but for right now, he's not going anywhere. Maxey, though, I wanted to get to him. 13 of 22, 4 for 10, especially in that fourth quarter where he really went off in that fourth quarter, just dropping 17, making 2 of those 5. He had a heat check 3 on the third one. And I was
that
like,
was early in the clock, too.
Go for it, man. Go for it, man.
That must have been like a 32-footer with 18 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah, he was
behind
feeling
a
it.
double screen. He's like, I'm pulling this one.
Heat check, baby. That's basketball. Go for it. 6 of 10 in that fourth, 11 minutes and 20 seconds. And he only had the 1 turnover, but he scored those 17 points. He continues to, he had 29 in the earlier game, and he just continues to show why we look at him as that number 2 guy, as that potential all-star that we think he's going to make it at this point. If he keeps this up through January, he's pretty much a lock. But, man, he was phenomenal tonight.
Yeah, man. 33 and 10 assists there. He had 3 turnovers on the night, which for him is a high turnover game. For most people with that kind of usage would be a low turnover game. There's just 2 things that he does so incredibly well. And the first is the body control he has when he's flying around at full speed. Like, people look at it and he's like, oh, he only has 1 speed, it's full speed. Well, but 99.9% of NBA players don't have the body control to be able to put the ball on the glass like he does and with English like he does at that kind of speed. It's just insanely incredible to watch him do that. And, man, the deep range on his 3. It's just so tough to guard him when he can pull up off of a screen 30 feet deep. And you're like, yeah, that's a good shot because he can get that shot almost any time he wants against almost any kind of defense. Even a team like Toronto that has real good length on the perimeter, he is learning how to get to his spots. And again, we mentioned this before, there will be some skepticism over short guards in the playoffs being a 1 or a 1A option. Some of that skepticism, I think, is warranted because you can't be like Jason Tatum, just rise up and shoot over your defender. Well, Tyrese Maxey can step back and get a reasonably good shot almost whenever he wants. That's his real equalizer. That's how he overcomes his lack of height. It's wild to watch. I don't know what else to say.
And one thing that I really like,
he couldn't shoot when he came in the league.
No, he couldn't. He could. Well, and you know how he says it. It wasn't that he couldn't; it's that he didn't.
No,
because he wasn't given the opportunity. But to your point, he couldn't shoot.
Well, I mean, when he did get the opportunity, he shot 29% 2 years in a row.
He did, yeah.
We've mentioned this all the time. Like, you go back to the draft, a lot of people would look at that and said, oh, man, his indicators, mid-range, free throw, show that he will improve. But it's one thing to improve from that 29% three-point base. It's another thing to become arguably a top 5 shooter in the league, and he is right there.
Leading the league in percentage shooting at the end of the year for the last 2, or at least in the top 3.
And we don't even talk about it because he doesn't get very many catch and shoot opportunities anymore, especially with Harden gone.
Yeah.
But he's an elite catch and shoot player too.
Outrageous. And his finishing at the rim was already very good. I'll say very good for a young player. It's so much better now. Where before it was just get the ball high up like Iverson used to do off the top of the glass, hit your spots. I remember talking to him one day about it after practice, and we were just talking about different ways of getting the angle of the layups. And he was talking about he has points on the backboard that he likes to hit to get those shots off or whatever angle it is over the defender and the angle that he is driving. And now I'm loving even more the scoop shot when he gets into the paint and he turns it over and finger rolls it in from a certain distance. And even that, and typically when you do that and you turn it over that way, defenders have an opportunity to now go ahead and swat it. But he does it so perfectly and it's timely where he does it that they don't have an opportunity. And plus, it's on his downward downward point to the basket that if they do try, it's going to be a goaltend. So really good from him finishing at the basket. We have a lot of super chats. You called for him. We get 4 in a row. So we get the bang knees out. Rick Sachs jumps in. Devon, here's your trademark money. I appreciate it. Obi-Wan Kenobi is the 4th on the team, not a 3rd. We need one more piece. I hear you, Rick, and he's
not to get too nerdy, but I feel like this could be after this game. He could go hide on Tatooine here for a couple of games here, so it definitely fits.
That's very true, very true. But nationally televised game on Christmas Day, better not disappear, man. Better not disappear. But thank you for the donation, and that's always because again, we never trademarked aggressive Ben Simmons is the best Ben Simmons. So now we're looking at the best Tobias Harris. The aggressive Tobias Harris is the best Tobias Harris. So got to trademark it. Thank you there, Johnny. Appreciate
Obi-Wan Kenobi. He'll win the battle on Mustafar, then hide on Tatooine. Fucking madman.
Real time back with us here. Also with the donation. We appreciate it. Good question. Which former Sixers player gives the current Sixers team the best chance to win? And is OG and Levine media and agent driven? Are they the trade options agent driven? Appreciate it, real time, for checking in. Let's start there. Agent driven or real? OG Anunoby, who people got a chance to scout tonight. He finished with 12 on 4 of 9 shooting. And Zach LaVine out right now, but the Bulls are playing very well without him for the last 2 weeks.
So in terms of, I assume he's asking about the Sixers' interest. Is that agent or media driven?
Yes.
For LaVine,
or their availability and then the Sixers.
Yeah, well, availability is just reality. Like I think for OG, I think it's mostly connecting the dots because they see he doesn't have the contract. For LaVine, I think it's just reality. He's on the market. So it's media driven in the fact that we're the ones talking about it, but I don't think it's media driven in the fact that like we're inventing it. Mm-hmm. In terms of the Sixers' interest, I do think that the Sixers' interest in LaVine is mostly media driven. I have not gotten, Kyle and I have talked about this a million times, I have not gotten a sense that they are in on that. OG, I think it's, again, mostly just connecting dots. And one of those very significant dots being Nick Nurse.
Yep.
And I do think that relationship is strong. I talked about this a little bit before the season where I almost felt like Nick Nurse would empower OG a little more offensively than he should, give him pick and rolls that he really has no business running because he's not a good pick and roll player, in part because he defends his ass off. And I think Nick appreciates that. But I think, like I said, I think LaVine, I think, is mostly media driven. OG, I think, is mostly dot connecting.
Okay. And going back to the first part of the question that Real Time asks, which former Sixer player gives this current Sixer team the best chance to win if you could plug and play?
Over one of those two?
No. Former Sixer. Any former Sixer. Any former Sixer. And I'd imagine that.
No. So are we talking about like where they are at this stage of their career?
It's a good question.
Or where they were when they left the Sixers?
Let's just say. This
is a long list.
Let's just say any player that you feel could just step right in and that's active. Active and can jump in and play and fill in that last spot that they need.
I mean, it's got to be Jimmy, right? Who else would it really be? I guess it's got to be Jimmy. And like Jimmy's not a perfect fit because he will go a month where he just, no, I'm not taking a open catch and shoot 3, and that's not necessarily great. But getting one more ball handler who's also a great defender, who can get to the free throw line, who can create out of pick and rolls, I think it's got to be Jimmy.
And I assume not just obviously I'm taking it away like, no family stuff, just simply talking about, I assume we're not going, you drafted him, you had the rights, of course, talking about Kale. That would be the ideal one.
Are you okay?
No, I was just saying because he didn't specify.
I was not including him because he never played.
Exactly. Yeah. So just to specify, he was never in a Sixer uniform. He was,
he had a hat on for like
25
10 minutes. Yep.
and that was it. So that's the obvious one. I was going to ask, how about Jeremy Grant?
He was the other one that came to mind. But
Right.
no, I would trust Jimmy in the playoffs way more.
Sure. Yep. I agree with you.
Also, Joel loves Jimmy, and like that, I think that would be a good reunion to have.
And his vibes the vibes are so high. You go get his guy and bring him back. Bring him back in it. By the way, I think I saw, where was it? Paul Kennedy says when he thought of our rants yesterday on the show when he saw Tobias was putting up 23 shots on the night. There's that.
Yeah.
So
No, we thought about our rants too.
he heard us. Furious says, with another donation there on the super chat, we appreciate it. Furious, have we ever seen a player get better at the rate that Maxey is? He learns game after game. Thank you, Furious. We talk about his age.
Early career Joe was insane.
Yeah, he was.
Joel
he's
at
the one.
Kansas was incredible to watch. He would just, like, a week would go by and he would have a completely new aspect to his game.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's also why they're great.
But we talk about his age at 23 for a reason, because look at the rate, Furious, that you're talking about, how quickly he's picking this stuff up. And remember when we would always see where, first of all, Doc Rivers would tell him, you got to get out of the gym. You got to get out of the gym, all that stuff. Get out of here. And you're here at 5 a.m. and go rest, go home, chill, do something, go enjoy yourself. But he's always working. He's always willing to learn and try to get better. Clearly, he was probably going to do that anyway before James Harden got here. But you cannot tell me, and of course he has said so, that James Harden helped him out so much learning the guard position in the NBA as to where he is right now. So great question, Furious. Really appreciate it. I think we got a really good one from a lot of people. T. Will, Stacy. We forgot about Drew.
Which one?
Holiday.
Oh, yeah.
That's a really good one.
It's a good one. It's not
really
Jimmy
good
Butler good.
No, it's not Jimmy Butler good.
But
it's a good one.
It's a cleaner fit.
Yes.
A cleaner fit, but a lesser player.
So much so that when he was available at the beginning of the season, from trading Milwaukee to Portland and then looking to get into it.
My apologies. When you said Drew, the reason I said Drew who, it's because we had a Drew Thronsden in the chat asking a question. I thought you were referring to that question.
Drew Holiday.
Obviously, there aren't many Drews that are former Sixers.
My apologies. And Lucas, our latest super chat. Thank you, everybody, for the super chats. Lucas, appreciate it. Tyrese Maxey versus Jamal Murray versus De'Aaron Fox. I'm guessing, who would you prefer as a player? Oh, man. I would go right now Murray, because he got it done in the big spot.
Yeah.
He got it done in the big spot.
He is more accomplished.
Yes. He got it done in the big spot. I think if not for the ACL injury,
I think
would have been an all-star.
like, if you put Murray in Maxey's spot, I don't think he would succeed to the level that Maxey is. I think Maxey is able to create space better than Murray does.
Yes.
And on this team, especially when you're talking about maybe running some offense without Joel, or even with what he's able to do off of Embiid, I think Maxey is probably the cleaner fit. And his skill level is fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
But Maxey's just got a little deeper range, a little more space on that pull-up, and certainly more speed coming off of that screen. I think Murray would have a tough time duplicating what Maxey does with this team.
Those two over Fox?
I trust those two more than Fox, I think. Fox's defense
I was more of a Fox guy than Murray guy.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Fox's defense has disappointed me over the last couple of years.
Coming out of Kentucky, you just thought,
he had all the tools. I thought he would be a real good defender.
Yeah.
They're all good, though.
Yeah.
They're all good.
Paul Kennedy says, playoff Murray. LOL. Playoff Murray. Strictly playoff Murray. I'm guessing you're saying strictly playoff Murray. Thank you, everybody, for the super chats. We really appreciate it. Glenn says, maybe Maxey would be better if Doc wasn't trying to kick him out of the gym.
I didn't realize that Fox was shooting 40% from three so far this year.
He's gotten so much better from his outside shooting.
Now,
the defense is maybe taking a step back.
Is that legitimate or is that not? Because the previous 5 years, he was shooting like high 20s, low 30s.
He's been consistently good this season. Okay. I understand it's early, but it's
20 games.
It's not too early.
20 games.
It's not too early, though.
It's jumpers, especially threes, but jumpers in general, it takes me quite a while to fully buy in.
Okay.
I've seen people have 200 attempts where they look real good and revert back. And that's one thing I learned with the draft, where even in the draft where you'd get like maybe 30 games, 100, 150 attempts, you never really knew how good of a shooter they were. NBA is obviously differently. It's a higher level competition, a further line, all that stuff. But sure he's improved, but is he 40% good? Not sure I'm necessarily fully there yet.
All right, let's get to Joel Embiid.
But I didn't realize it was that high.
Yeah. Let's get to Joel Embiid. We'll hear from Kyle Neubeck live from South Philly at some point. Maybe he'll get in a little bit earlier so Derek can get out of here on this Friday night. Embiid, with the 31 that he had, he scored the 16 in a row that you alluded to. At the break, you also talked about what he did at the break, and he had 11 points on 4 of 8 shooting in just under 19 minutes of play. Scored 20 in the second half, and especially during that stretch, all doing so on that bum ankle. In the past,
and he looked like when he had that transition bucket.
On the catch from Maxey?
Was it an and one, or did he score?
It was the catch from Maxey. He caught it, and he
came down grabbing his, I think it was grabbing his knee on that one, too.
And that's really when he kind of sat down on the back of the stanchion.
Yep.
Yeah, so, but again, just pointing out that he did so with that bum ankle. He had a step back. Well, I was like, yo, you want to take that with that bad ankle? Step back jumper from, it had to be about 19-20. It wasn't his normal elbow extended 15. It was about 19-20, and he drilled it. But the guy is playing through these things where sometimes in the past, whether it was doctor related, saying sit down,
you talking
coach
like
related,
actual doctor or coach doctor?
Either one.
Okay.
Yeah, either one. Saying sit down just because of whatever. He's playing through these things now. Where number one, we were questioning his knee the other day, and tonight we're questioning his ankle, and he played through it, and he was brought back in at his normal 5:51 6-minute mark in the fourth quarter to close the game out. Where many felt, why are you bringing Joel Embiid back in the game where you have a pretty significant lead?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and it would have been great to finish that off completely, where you could give him a little extra time off and not bring him back in here. I do worry that,
but the Raptors made a little run where I understood why Nurse did it.
I do worry a little bit that just the accumulation of these things might linger a little bit, maybe might impact him down the stretch. It is just a lot of and you never really know with Joe because he hits the floor so many times and he grabs his ankle or some lower body extremity every time he falls, and you're always worried about it, and a lot of times ends up not mattering until it does. And this one certainly seemed like it lingered a little bit. He had that. What game was it a couple weeks ago where he was? He had an injury that was lingering a little bit.
With the knee?
Yeah.
Yeah, where he hurt the knee and he was grabbing it. Yeah, I can't remember the game, but yeah.
But we're having a couple of these now, and he plays through them, and a lot of times he can play through them successfully. That jumper doesn't necessarily need a fully functioning knee, but you do worry that there seems to be a bunch of these racking up.
But playing through it is really good to see because you know he's going to get some days off. Probably going to get a couple of days off at some point, maybe next month. They have the weekend off before the game on Monday going against Miami. He gets up for these nationally televised games, so he'll be ready. But to Derek's point, these things are starting to rack up. And part of it, too, for me is in the past where he would get these injuries and he would fall to the floor. And I'm like, come on, man, get up, stop. This is what you do. You get on, you milk it a little bit, and you get up and you do what Joel Embiid does, which is go out there and continue to play some good basketball. But these are actual things because I thought, when he injured his ankle, I'm like, did he really, whatever it was, did he just fall to protect himself? And then you see the replay, and he twisted his ankle pretty good. He rolled it pretty good on the foot of, I think, Jakob Poeltl at that point. So he is playing through these things, but that's the thing. The commitment that we're seeing it has been there, but it's a little bit, it feels a little bit different than it has in the past where you're talking about buy-in from everybody. You and Kyle talking about it starts with your leader, and Kyle talking about it on Twitter, and him and Joel Embiid having to have multiple conversations about it. It starts, and it's going through him, and they're following it. He's not bailing out. He's playing through all those things.
And he had some real big defensive plays, too, down the stretch. He had some real good defensive rotations. He took pretty much every transition defense play off.
4 block shots.
In the half court, he was rotating. He was giving effort. He was moving on that bum ankle. He was good. He was real good for a game where I didn't know, I really thought this might be, not that he's going to score, remember a couple of years ago? More than a couple of years ago at this point, when he didn't score against the Raptors?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It wasn't going to be like that. He's grown way too much for that. And also, they don't have Nick Nurse on that sideline anymore. But you were wondering, man, he might only score 20 tonight. And that's, that's a real down game for Joel Embiid. But for him to put that together in the second half, to get that jumper working, to play that kind of defense, it was a great performance. And it was one that they needed because even with Tobias, I can't believe I'm about to say it's Tobias Harris's heroics in the first half, they still needed to finish that one off.
He was rolling, man. Tobias Harris rolling again, 33 points, Fun team to watch, man. How fun is this? After what we saw, and look, they should have been in the Eastern Conference Finals. Doc Rivers' first year? That's what it was?
That was the Atlanta year,
first year. They should have been. They were the number one seed. They should have gotten to the Eastern Conference Finals. We don't know what would have happened after that. That's when also Giannis did hurt his knee, I think it was. They went to the finals that year. No, that was 21.
The years jumbled together.
Yeah, they all jumbled together. But there were some fun teams.
21
some
was
fun
the
moments.
year
that
they
was,
lost.
That was the year. Yeah, so that was the 21 year where they would have played Milwaukee. Who knows? The injury happened. May not have happened against the Sixers, but it did happen nonetheless. This is a fun team to watch. A fun team to cover, to be around, and to watch how things have come together over the years. Questions about the number 2 option, if Maxey is up for the challenge. Still some questions, but he is really answering a lot. Joel Embiid playing a different way, playing even better than he was a year ago when he was the MVP. Right now, after the straw poll that Kyle and Derek were a part of for ESPN, he is right now the unanimous leader for that MVP because of the style of play, the way that he is playing. When we wanted him to lower his points per game, he has increased it, and it's coming efficiently. It's not taking away too much from what the offense is doing. And your other guy, your co-star, is averaging 26 points a night and getting a lot of good shots. And they're available shots for other people. Also, the coach, where we had some questions there, right there in the middle for what Nick Nurse was doing, questioning about Marcus Morris's minutes, some of the other players' minutes. But right now, it seems that he has a good feel for his team, his rotation, the players, what role he wants them to play with this current group. And it really is a fun brand of basketball that they're playing at the moment. Guys are going down where you have Melton and you have
I mean, look, you mentioned a 2-3 road trip. Pulling out these 2 wins here so shorthanded. Look, they're not your core guys, although Melton's a starter, but to miss these many wing players and still come out with 2 good wins, it's a good showing.
Yeah, and even in the other games where you didn't have Marcus Morris is out. Let's not forget about tonight. Patrick Beverley is out, your second ball handler, well, third behind DeAnthony Melton, but he
was starting for Melton at one point.
Yeah, Patrick Beverley was out quietly, just out of the game, dealing with some stuff there, but they found a way. So this is fun. And as I look at some of the points here, as we talk about it, and we mentioned Paul, this is a couple of times we mentioned him, just good points. They're humble, and they seem to like each other. That goes a long way when you like your teammates. And that's where the trust also comes in, talking about Tobias Harris, kind of circling back to what he did tonight. When they see and they have the trust in you, they already feel like you're a good basketball player. When they see you're playing with the confidence and you're not afraid to make mistakes and you are taking the necessary shots that are available to you, that confidence is so high, they're going to give you the opportunity. Joel Embiid was looking for him, Derek, tonight, to give him the basketball, telling him to come get it on those dribble handoffs and go. And the one thing that he was doing was he was not waiting for Joel Embiid to spot up at the three-point line or to post up there at the top of the key and get the ball back. He was just going and making decisions and doing it. And that's where it was good to see. This team is fun. As Paul said, this team is humble. They're playing a really good brand of basketball. And the way that they're playing, there's a chance that if they can keep this going, which is why many people talk about, do you even need to make a move, a significant move, just to get a piece to fill in and fit in there to make sure that you have a group that connects all the dots for your roster, where you may not need that third star to take away from Maxey. Well, you might still need that, but the whole thing of it is, it's how much you like this team where you're even making that kind of statement where you don't want them to go out there and do that.
Yeah, I'm very rarely am I going to say, like, don't go out and add talent. I think that is overthinking things to a degree, especially when you get in the playoffs and you get teams like Boston who have so much defensive versatility. You want everyone on that floor to be able to do something if they need to. If Joel's being double teamed or Maxey's being trapped and you have a 4-on-3 advantage, you need the guy that you're outletting to be able to go off the dribble, to turn that 4-on-3 into a 3-on-2 or a 2-on-1 and be able to make plays and decisions. So if you're talking about, like, should they get more talent? Yeah, they should get more talent. The fact they're playing well and the fact that Maxey and Embiid are so good only really kind of increases the urgency, I think, to go out there and be aggressive. It's going to come down to what do they need more, and we can debate that, whether it's players like OG and Caruso, or if it's someone more offensively minded, or maybe, Dorsey that hasn't opened yet and revealed itself. But I do think they should be aggressive in trying to make a move. It just might change maybe the archetype that you would be looking for. But I will also go back to, this isn't a answer we have to have on December 22nd.
Sure.
This is something where you want to get as much information, because it really is their last chance to go big. So, yeah, I'm not going to say because of tonight or any real game that they shouldn't be aggressive. I don't necessarily think you have to keep consistency in terms of the roster. If there's a trade out there that makes sense, be aggressive in pursuing it. What they're doing now just might change what you're trying to look for.
I agree with you 100%, because if you are able to add that talent, to your point, when you do have all of these things working for you, that should give you the idea of, no, let's go for it. Let's go get it. And this is where I didn't have the problem when Elton Brand and those people who were in charge at that time, when they saw an opportunity where they saw in the East that, hey, we can do something here in this conference. We already went and got Jimmy Butler. Okay, let's go get Tobias Harris. This can help us out here right now. So that's exactly to your point of, if talent is available, even though you're playing well already with Jimmy Butler, Joel Embiid, and Ben Simmons, you can add more. And J.J. Redick. I'm not going to exclude J.J. Redick, because that was a fun brand of basketball. So good stuff from everybody. We really appreciate it. Liam Stevens says,
I was never huge on Toby, but I don't want to talk about that when he had such a great night right now. So we'll let that one slide.
I got you. Yeah, Toby heard you, Devon. I hear you, Liam. He heard us all, because he went out there and played a great brand of basketball. And we really appreciate everybody checking in.
Before we get to Kyle, we do want to point out Rick Sachs dropped a super chat mentioning that the Embiid, Maxey, Tobias trio were the first trio in NBA history to have 30 points and 7 assists each, which I haven't had a chance to confirm or verify, but I assume I take Rick at his word. That is absurd. That's incredible.
That is. And the first time for the Sixers since 1961, formerly the Syracuse Nationals, to have 3 players score 30-plus points in a game. Philadelphia franchise. So, great stuff. Let's go down to the arena right now in South Philadelphia and check in with our partner, Kyle Neubeck, live from the center after a pretty good win against the Toronto Raptors, wrapping up the 3-game homestand, a 2-1 homestand after dropping the first one to the Bulls, beating Minnesota on Wednesday, Toronto tonight. Kyle, Tobias hurt us, man. He hurt us.
Yeah, you heard us say on the podcast yesterday that the team should be built around him and that he's the most important player on the team and, all that. It's funny. I feel like we've had a few of these moments now, right, where this is one of them. We're saying, Tobias, get your act together.
Tell Austin to get out of the background.
Free publicity, walking through the background, intentionally doing so. Look at this guy. Does it a second time instead. No free publicity, Austin. So call out Tobias. He plays well. People pointed out in our Discord, Derek, that our preseason Kelly play within the offense. Now that has run out a little bit for Kelly. And certainly Joel liking my tweet, the clear delineation point for the season at this point for Joel. So I'm not saying that we deserve all the credit, but maybe actually 0% of the credit. Great game by Tobias. They were all obviously very fired up for him tonight, and sort of dovetails with what he said when we talked to him at practice yesterday, which is he didn't think he's been getting the opportunities to let it fly, or some games he just doesn't have it. We obviously disagreed with that characterization, but I thought tonight Toronto loads up on Joel and Maxey in the pick and roll for long stretches of that game. Tobias got a lot of open looks, and kudos to him for taking advantage of it. Awesome game for him.
And that's something that we talked about a little earlier, and we spoke with you, of course, during yesterday's show and a few shows, quite frankly, where he just attacked and he was aggressive. He wasn't thinking. He just went after it. He was rejecting screens. He was calling guys off. He was not passing the ball to Maxey to push a break and making positive plays with them. And that's something that we ask for, maybe not to the tune of what he gave tonight, 24 in the first half, 33 overall, but just the mindset.
Yeah, look, because it wasn't all the threes. The threes are a huge part of it, right? And he gets that first one to go down, and it's like an avalanche from there. But once he got those threes to go down, then you're seeing aggressive Tobias getting downhill. I thought, honestly, a couple of my favorite plays of the night was him going at OG Anunoby in the mid post, close to the rim, sealed him off on a play. I believe it was in the first half. High-low with Joel Embiid, has to wrap him up, got fouled. Like, OG is a guy we talk about quite a bit for a non-Sixers player on the show. Versatile, tough, strong defender. And Tobias is just throwing his weight around. So, like, that's why, as much as it's about the three-point volume and all that, that's just a sign of everything else too, right? When he's taking shots from outside, it normally is paired with strong transition play. It normally is paired with him actually bodying guys in the post. And so it's just like the number one marker of what version of Tobias are they getting. And so to see him come out early, take threes, and then that translates to everything else, obviously a great thing to see for him in the midst of what has been one of the toughest stretches he's had in a while.
I guess, what can you tell us about Joel? I'm sure he said he's fine, but what else can you tell us about Joel?
Yeah, those were his exact words, that I'm fine. And he did say, and that he's going to have to see how it feels tomorrow. I think that's probably a step further than he normally goes. It's always, I'm fine. And we always assume, yeah, he'll get an eval tomorrow. He'll wake up. We'll see if it swells or whatever. But rolled ankle, I'm sure you guys probably got better angles than we did in the arena of what happened on replays. But no big alarms were set off yet. I asked Nurse about it during his presser, and essentially said, look, he played the rest of the game and was fine enough to do that. So I don't think that they're bracing for a serious injury, certainly. But I will tell you, watching him up close, I don't know how much of this translated to the broadcast. He seemed like he was in pain for basically that entire game. A lot of like either M1 baskets or taking a jumper and lands funny and just grimacing and having to walk it off a little bit. So I tweeted this during the game. I didn't think he should be out there as long as he was. To his credit, he was able to rally after a tough start and had a really good second half, at least offensively. But I would say I'm slightly dubious about him playing in Miami at this point. We'll have to see what comes out of practice on Saturday.
Did they mention anything about a knee? I just say that because it looked like after that one transition bucket in the third, he was grabbing at it a little bit. It might have just been, I don't know.
They did not say anything about a knee with him. And that honestly is one of the reasons why I would have pulled him, is because once the ankle is weak and you're favoring it, then you leave yourself susceptible to injuries elsewhere because your biomechanics are all out of whack. So haven't heard anything, but with him, it's always, wait and see, I guess.
That would be very interesting, with the possibility of maybe not playing on Christmas Day just because of the new NBA focus of star players.
Yeah, I mean, I think they could make a credible case that he is injured on this one.
They could. Yeah, they could. Yeah, they absolutely could. But just pointing out that for the folks who don't know, that the NBA is trying to crack down on guys not playing in these nationally televised showcase games.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't tell you one way or another. I would imagine Joel wants to play in that game for whatever that's worth. Like, he's certainly not trying to sit out on Christmas.
No. You mentioned in the Discord, of course, guys, people mentioning Kelly Oubre maybe coming down to earth a little bit, because he's had some opportunities here with some starting roles, being back after missing so much time. Got off to a really good start in the season, but did miss that time, where shooting has cooled off. And he's had some really good looks. He's had some opportunities. Just doesn't look the same right now. Maybe any concern there right now, or it's just a little bit of a stretch that you feel?
Yeah, I mean, look, the concern is based on the priors that we have with him, right? It's not based on this season so much, but you get that lingering dread feeling where it's like, I've kind of seen this movie before with him, where it's not the missed threes, right? Like, he had some open catch and shoot shots that he missed that I want him to take 10 out of 10 times. Mm-hmm. He also had some pretty aggressive pull-up jumpers that not much separation. He's still letting them fly. Some of those, there was at least one on a long two that I just was like, head in hands, just what the hell are we doing here type of shot. And I also, I don't know what you guys are seeing here. I think anecdotally, he had the one forced turnover kind of late in the game, but I don't think his defense has been as connected and as locked in as it was to open the season. Now, you could say some of that is he's in a different role. Certainly a lot of guys are out tonight, so some of the lineups and rotations they're playing, you're communicating with guys that you're not normally playing next to. And so I'm not going to put that all on him for sure. There are other guys that struggle with it at times too. But because he is one of the, he's like top 6-7 guys on the team, like a nightly rotation guy compared to D House, who's just getting thrown into the mix for injury reasons. We have to hold him slightly more accountable. So I've been a little disappointed in the defensive regression for sure.
No, I mean, he like you mentioned, he missed a couple open catch shoot threes, but he made a couple as well. And then he had 1 3 where he pulled up, contested off the dribble, and airball short. And those are the shots you want to cut out for him for sure.
All right, man. Well, listen, you and I on Christmas Day.
I guess just real quick, did Tobias address sort of, because, we were at practice the other day. You asked him about 3-point volume. He had 9 today. Did he address that at all?
No, I mean, it's pretty much, I'd say, the same message that we got at practice, right? Where he says, look, this is the game flow. I had shots. I was open. Look, in fairness, I do think that there was some loading up on Joel and Tyrese,
sure,
right? Where they're playing heavy on that side of the floor, wherever they're attacking with the pick and rolls and dribble handoffs. And so there were some easier opportunities for Tobias. But yeah, I mean, there was not an admission like, hey, I got the first three to go down, and that was all it took. I will also say one of the things that jumped out at me in that game for him, the second made three he had, he literally could not think about it because D House gave him a hot potato, and it was just like, okay, I got to shoot. There's no other option here. And it's almost like he has to be tricked into taking it in the first place. And then once those two go down, the confidence is just
I can do that.
Flowing from there. Yeah, right. Like, it's what we talk about on the show all the time. It is not a lack of mechanical skill and touch from Tobias. It's the mindset that comes and goes from him. So I loved what I saw from him on so many levels tonight. I hope that he continues it. Obviously, we've seen him have big games and nice nights as a shooter before. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, he's a changed man. This is the guy we wanted and blah, blah, blah. But happy to see him get off the schneid to some extent, and we'll see where he goes from here. Certainly Christmas will be a fun opportunity to see what he does.
And that'll be you and I after the game, doing post-game.
Yes, sir.
Should be a fun one. Well, listen, Kyle, enjoy the rest of your night, your weekend, and I will see you on Christmas Day.
Sounds good, fellas. Derek, I won't see you, so Merry Christmas. Everybody in the chat, I will see you on Christmas.
Best Christmas present I can give you is to not have to put up with me that day.
See you guys.
See you, man. Appreciate it. Kyle Neubeck live from the arena following the Sixers' 10-point win. Again, 121-111. Make sure you check out Kyle's story right there on allphly.com for his good, the bad, the ugly, everything in the piece about this game. And I'd imagine in the good, there will be a lot said, a lot of words about Tobias Harris and what he did tonight.
Yeah. Look, I mean, if we're going to criticize him when he's bad, we'll praise him when he's good, while also acknowledging that I have no idea what they're going to get on Monday.
No clue, especially with Jimmy Butler on the other side. So
Tobias Harris over me. Even though, again, it wasn't really Tobias Harris over him. Look, if you're Jimmy, that's a good phrase.
It's a good line. It's a great thing to run with if you're Jimmy Butler. Everybody, we really appreciate it. Good win. 2-1 on the 3-game homestand. Now they hit the road for 4.
Yeah, it's a bunch.
Yeah, 4 games on the road as they cross over now for the Christmas Day.
I think it's their
game.
last home game of 2023, right?
Yes, it is. They won't be home until January. So 4 games on the road for their normal road trip in December, where it's typically something going on at the arena. They have to go out west. Not out west this time. They're staying out east and the Midwest for their games here. So we'll be with you for all of those, and certainly on Christmas Day. Derek will have the day off, and well-deserved day off, as Kyle and I will sit in on Christmas night following the Sixers and the Heat. A lot of people to thank there in the chat. Well, first, let's give all the people the super chats and say thank you to Rick Sachs a couple of times there, Furious, Jay of the Jungle, Real Time, Lucas a few times as well. We appreciate you for donating to the Super Chat. Thank you so much for those questions. And on our list that we have here of folks, who do we have here?
We've got Noob, Remo, Brian, Patrick, Shahid, Zay, Ramich, Ronald, Jay of the Jungle, SB, a whole bunch of other people.
Shahid.
Money Mar is always here, so I want to make sure I mention him.
Brian, Paul.
Val was in the chat. Saw Val in chat. We met Val at the Reading Terminal Market, so shout out, Val. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. We had a lot of people in here. We really appreciate it. LJ, Joe Kwan, Ivan, the good fella, Zeno Hour, also T. Will in the mix with some conversation throughout the evening. We had a lot of people. Glenn, so many people on a Friday night. We can't thank you enough. Rich, the Beard 76.
I mean, in all honesty,
Charlie _M.
And I don't really mean this to tap ourselves on the back, but like we're getting enough comments in here now where it's getting tough, and I feel guilty that we're not mentioning all of them.
I know. That's why I wanted to jump in with you because we had a Drew in there that you mentioned earlier. We had Winona jump in. So we thank everybody. We thank you for hanging out, sharing. Everybody who jumped in, joined us for the show. Even if you couldn't jump in on the chat, we really appreciate it overall for you hanging out with us this week, making this what it is now because of not only us and Bree, but because of you. So we thank you. For everybody who cannot join on Monday, we want to say happy holidays and Merry Christmas to you. If you will be with us on Monday following the Sixers and the Heat, we will certainly talk to you then. Derek, Merry Christmas, man.
Same to you, man.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. Bree, Merry Christmas to you. Thank you. For Derek and Kyle and Bree, I'm Devon. Have a good rest of your night. Enjoy your weekend. Go get those last-minute gifts, folks, because I know you'll be out there tomorrow. You might see me. You might see me out there.
Don't call or text because my next 2 days are packed.
See, you heard it from Derek there. Have a good one, everybody. Good night.
We all silly like the mayor.